It's finding those unique perspectives of what is something that our audience might not be seeing that we get to see every day because we're on property. So, making sure that each piece of content, especially if it's high res video, it feels like you're hand-holding the guest through a story, with video being now, the biggest, most important content you're seeing on social media. Having that storyline and that ability to really plan out exactly how you want the content to run, I think that's where I'm able to get a little bit more creative.
This is Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, your essential resource for mastering the unique challenges of social media marketing in the hospitality industry authentically. I'm your host, Mike Alton, and each episode we dive deep into the real issues, from evolving guest expectations to standout social campaigns, sharing insights and strategies you can put to work. Let's get started with today's episode. Welcome back to Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, where we're digging into the challenges, successes, and the stories of social media community professionals in the industry just like you. Subscribe to gain valuable insights that you'll be able to apply to your own work and social presence from each and every episode. Now, when you think about luxury hotels and social media, what comes to mind? Probably stunning sunset views, perfectly plated dishes, and immaculate room layouts. But in today's digital landscape, beautiful imagery alone isn't enough to capture and maintain audience attention. Luxury properties are facing increasing pressure to stand out in overcrowded social feeds while maintaining their prestigious brand standards and delivering measurable results. The challenge becomes even more complex when you consider the sophisticated expectations of luxury travelers. They're not just looking for pretty pictures, they want to feel connected to the property, understand its unique story, and envision themselves in that experience. This leaves many social media managers asking, how do we balance high end aesthetics with authentic engagement? How do we transform our social presence from a digital billboard into storytelling platforms that drives real business results? Today's guest knows exactly how to thread that needle. As a social media and marketing manager at Rosewood Miramar Beach, a triple Forbes five-star resort, Kara Pearson has revolutionized how luxury properties approach social media. She's crafted a strategy that goes beyond beautiful content to create meaningful connections with guests and drive remarkable results. Join us as we explore how she's redefined what's possible in luxury hotel social media. Hey, Kara, welcome to the show.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
My pleasure to have you. I wonder if you could start by just kind of walking us through what Rosewood Miramar Beach's social media looked like when you first started and what made you realize it needed to change.
Yeah, so when I came on the team, um, I was just really soaking up everything like a sponge and just focusing on what they were doing in the past, which really focused on just beautiful static images, short and sweet captions, light and bright palette. It was something that was very visually exciting to guests and very focused on kind of more commercial photography and product photography. And so when I took the reins as social media manager, I really wanted to start with our visuals, and that focused on our Instagram grid. So as you were scrolling down previously, you would kind of see more of a repetition with the color palette. And so when I came in, I really wanted to shift that into more of a seasonal flow. As you would flow down our Instagram feed, I wanted it to feel like it was the present and what you're seeing with the natural colors of the surrounding destination. And then also kind of playing around with how colors balance together, that as you see a 9 grid, you're going to see pops of colors in different parts of each post that play off of each other. And that's sort of where I bring my experience working in editorial magazines into play, so that as you're looking at an entire 9 grid, it feels very balanced. It feels like every piece of the puzzle fits together, but it's also able to stand alone and have this vibrancy, this seasonality that um, truly just, invites you in to continue scrolling.
That's a really amazing approach because I think you have and attention to detail in order to accomplish something like that, as well as you're weaving in a really refined taste. And I think those 2 qualities in particular really reflect the taste of, luxury customers. But before I go on to the next question, though, I should have backtracked and asked this from the start. How long have you been with Rosewood? And tell us a little bit more about the property, where it is, and those kinds of details.
Yeah, of course. So our resort is located in Montecito, California, and I've been lucky enough to be on the team in-house, as a social media manager, for almost about 3 years now, and when I first came on, our resort was, handled mainly by a PR agency for all social
Mm.
content, so this was an amazing moment. I grew up in Santa Barbara. I have a true connection to the community here where the resort lives. And it was nice to bring kind of that community perspective from a local's point of view into that role to really showcase the destination in ways that guests or agencies might not get to see every single day.
Love that. That's the kind of like a hands-on, local, in-person uh, benefit or almost requirement many of our past guests have talked about, from like Potter's Resorts in England to MGM in Las Vegas. They often talk about the need to be there on the property, being able to create content and understand what's happening. And I think that's going to lend itself to your answer to the next question. But I am wondering how you understand this kind of a luxury audience. What's your approach to researching, to finding out what their preferences are, behaviors in social media, that sort of thing?
Yeah, so I definitely have my background is in luxury fashion and editorial, as I mentioned before. So I've been pretty close to this audience for decades. I first started in editorial work in 2011 and grew as a graphic designer and then also through editorial and print publications in LA. And so I've had the luxury
Hmm.
of having this close relationship to this style of client for many years prior, but I've done a few things that have helped me basically analyze, the audience and understand the type of content that's making them wanna stop and engage with it, and one of those things is just truly researching trends and going on Instagram, scrolling through content, seeing what your competitors are doing, seeing how they're doing it and the why, and I think the biggest thing is the why for me when I'm creating content is what what type of content is going to really spark emotion? What's going to be that one thing that makes someone smile or one thing that makes someone feel inspired? And as a creative, having this past experience, I tend to lean into finding that creativity on social media. So it truly is just analyzing content that you're seeing and then also taking it a step further and testing out your own audience and seeing what type of content they're interacting with. And I always say with success leaves breadcrumbs, and when you see something start to be successful, and you'll see that with likes, with comments, with shares, reposts, that's when you can tell the pattern is starting to begin. And so for me, it's just finding those moments where you're analyzing the patterns, but you're also analyzing those patterns on other competitors Instagrams or just, in social media, on Instagram, on TikTok, just being really in the know of what's going on with those specific demographics.
Got it. So if we go back to 2022, you're just getting started. What were some of the initial challenges that you faced when you're implementing this brand new social media strategy, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing that any large property would understand is really making sure that the departments are aligned with content and making sure that they feel like they have a voice in the content creation. We have a very passionate team, and I absolutely adore it because it allows me to work really closely with people who are not just creators, not just photographers or videographers, but people who are creating in their own craft. And so having the first challenge was just getting that line of communication and getting that organization so that we're all on the same page, whether that's before a photo shoot, whether that's during a photo shoot, or after, as we're promoting their event, as we're promoting their activations. So I think the biggest challenge was uniting our departments and kind of having them understand the meaningful and exciting work that we do for social media. And as we started opening up those doors and started opening up, let's all sit at the table together and talk about how we can create some incredible content, they would get excited. And having that excitement just fueled the storytelling, all in all.
Awesome. So could you share an example of one of the social posts or campaigns that you did that came out of that? Maybe the kind of campaign that normally would have been what we would call a traditional luxury hotel post, and you've turned that into one of those storytelling opportunities that actually resonated with your audience.
Yeah, of course. One of the best ones to talk about, and it's one of the ones we've been the most proud of this year, is our triple Forbes 5 star. It was going to be an incredible announcement. And typically in resort worlds and in hotel worlds and the hospitality, you can kind of aim to announce with just a simple post, whether it's a photo, maybe it's the logo of the accolade, but we wanted to take it one step further. And so I crafted and developed the Forbes Triple 5 Star series, which was an interview style series that we were able to partner on with all of our team members from different departments. And they were able to sit in these moments of interview style and talk about not only the stories that they've shared with guests, but their experience being at the property, what it means to be on Team Myanmar. And it was one of those moments that really brought so much joy to our community, seeing, people that they recognize every single day, whether they're, and when I talk about community, it's not necessarily local community, but digital community. And it's people that they would come to the property and see and have these interactions with. And so being able to highlight, the hard work behind the accolade meant so much to our team to feel like they've just, they really got to have this incredible moment on a pedestal, but it also allowed us to share our stories that you might not necessarily see from just a typical photo.
Oh my gosh. All right. As a storyteller, I love this use case or example so much. So you're right. And honestly, everyone listening, this applies to every single business in the entire world. When we get an award, whether it's a G2 award or Capterra or a local, accolade in a newspaper, the normal post is graphic, caption, "Hey, we won. We're
Mhm.
awesome. Here's the award." Everybody does that, and they're so boring, particularly when the reality is, and I'm sure you're aware of this, oftentimes you can pay for those awards. We get emails all the time, "Hey, for $500, we'll feature you in such and such a example." And so anybody can get an award if they want an award and just talk about it. And you said it best. You wanted to take it to the next level, and you did that by talking to your employees and showing off why you got that award without even
Mhm.
having to expressly say, "We got this award." I mean, it's just kind of probably subtly part of those posts. That's fantastic. I would go so far as to say that's inspired. Folks, we're talking with Kara Pearson about some of the unique challenges and opportunities facing luxury brands. And in a moment, we're going to talk about UGC, managing different outlets, and more. But first, let me share with you another challenge facing social media managers: reporting and how we're helping them solve for it.
Actually can't say enough great things about the reporting with Agora Pulse. I feel like that is my job security every month. My clients aren't that active on social media, which is why they have me manage their profiles for them. And when they get that report, it verifies that they're making a good investment.
The metrics downloads are so simple and easy to read, and it really helps me show where we are doing things right on social and where we need to improve.
So I think one of the main reasons why we decided to move to Agora Pulse is because it's a more comprehensive, integrated tool for all of our marketing needs. So rather than what we have had to do historically with Sprout, which is use certain parts of that platform that work really well and then supplement it with other outside tools, by moving to Agora Pulse, we were able to keep all of that into one technology platform, which is not only a time saver, but it also makes sure that our analytics and all of our reporting's on point because we're pulling all from the same source.
It's a really great platform for agencies. It makes it really easy to manage, but gives me really, really, really robust information that actually helps me develop better strategies for my clients and better plans of action.
So, Kara, I feel like you're pushing what I might call creative boundaries, right? Where you're doing things outside the norm. If you were working in another business and wanted to, do that campaign that we just talked about, I
Mhm.
could easily see a CMO or a creative manager saying, no, 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 we've always done it this other way. We're not going to do it that way. So that's amazing. But how do you maintain brand consistency when you keep trying to do things that are a little bit different than how others or you've done them before?
Yeah, so I think that is always, the creator's challenge, right? Of finding their own inspiration and finding their own voice within a brand. And so for me, I just wanted to get really rooted and to understand our brand as a whole, not only for Rosewood Miramar Beach, but for Rosewood hotels nationally. And so being able to take that time to really train in their content pillars and their visual guidelines, their mood boards, it definitely plays a major factor in how I produce our content, whether that's photo shoots, video shoots, even iPhone shoots, of just having their perspective being kind of the overarching tone. But what is special about me as a creator and the way I produce content in a way that's pushing the boundaries is looking at different angles of how we could create the content. Because there are so many times where you can go to a beach and see the beach in this beautiful way and capture it, but not everyone's perspective is going to be the same. It's finding those unique perspectives of what is something that our audience might not be seeing that we get to see every day because we're on property. So I think I kind of bring it in with, the creative angles, the innovative new concepts, and that really has to go back to creating the storyline. So making sure that each piece of content, especially if it's high res video, it feels like you're hand-holding the guest through a story, and I think that's what's been the most riveting for me to learn about because with video being now, the biggest, most important content you're seeing on social media, having that storyline and that ability to really plan out exactly how you want the content to run, I think that's where I'm able to get a little bit more creative. And one of the examples, I know this is a little silly, but we are a huge dog friendly property and
Mm.
we love the idea of showcasing that we're dog friendly. But one of the ideas we came up with as a team and one of the photo shoots that I led was bringing dogs onto property and having them run around and be in our accommodations, in our rooms, in our bathtubs, and filming them having fun. And that was something that was so different that our brand probably has never done before, but it's opened the door for other opportunities. And we've done that before with bringing on bunnies for a reel and having them run around the property for Easter. And once that, and let me tell you, reeling in bunnies is not the easiest. But we were able to create this really fun, energetic piece of content that just blew up because everyone loved it. They just love seeing something that makes them smile. They love seeing joy showcased. And, that's not very common to see a luxury property having a dog in the bed, but it's something that really pushes the boundaries. And after, we completed our Easter reel, we noticed a year after that that became a little bit of a trend with other properties. So seeing that, we sort of kind of pushed the boundaries a little bit, led us to creating a little bit of a social trend.
Okay, that's hilarious. I'm fairly certain bunny wrangling was not on your bingo card for that day. But one of the things that I picked up on was that you're talking about creating high res video, even with an iPhone. And it's interesting to me because recently I was interviewing one of TikTok's product managers, and they were talking about how, at least on their platform, vertical video, the real trend is towards UGC content. Even if the brand is creating the content, they still wanted that UGC look of more amateurish kind of a thing. And a lot of the hotel chains that we talk to, they're talking about sharing, pictures and videos and that sort of thing from guests. How do you balance that when clearly it's not high res, high end storytelling? It can't possibly meet your luxury standards. How are you balancing that? What role does UGC even have in your strategy?
Yeah, so we've been really blessed to work with incredible influencers over the years and um, opened our doors to be able to create partnerships where it showcases the resort. And in the past, we've actually partnered very closely with some of these influencers. And one example was our most viral reel last year was a collaboration with an influencer and another company that was local to Santa Barbara. It's Mad Dogs and Englishmen.
Mm,
And we had this collaboration coming from all angles. We had our UGC influencer who's focused on creating in a way that would make sense for it to be feeling off the cuff. Um, but then also having, this brand partnership between us and Mad Dogs. And so having all those cooks in the kitchen, we were able to come together and kind of, meet in this beautiful synergy of putting together a storyline and supporting our influencer and just talking through ideas of what would make sense for, the Rosewood Miramar Beach Instagram, but then what would also make sense for her. So it was an amazing partnership that kind of opened the door to really becoming more aligned with the process. And I think that's why that reel had become so successful. Just because it does give a point of view. It gives Courtney's point of view, who was the creator, and showcases her experience, but allows us to still kind of mix in our ideas of, oh, why don't we throw, maybe what about this view or this or that? So it was a very special partnership that ended up being very successful.
that makes a lot of sense. Now, I'm also wondering how you balance different aspects and or outlets, parts of the resort. I'm sure you got a restaurant and a spa. How are you talking about all those aspects while still trying to maintain that cohesive narrative, that storytelling of what the overall experience is like?
Yeah, so we are lucky enough where we have 4 dedicated Instagram accounts, and 3 of those are dedicated to our restaurants on property, including our Michelin star and Michelin Green Star restaurant. So we are able to funnel a lot of the content focused on food and beverage through those social media accounts. And then we kind of go back to, it's kind of going back to what I mentioned before with the Instagram grid and making it feel balanced. And I think for our Rosewood Miramar Beach account, I really want every single 9 grid that you're seeing to feel balanced, like you're getting a little piece of everything from our resort, because we have an incredible F&B program with our restaurants, but we also have a Forbes 5-star spa. And then we have been implementing all these new boutique openings. So there's retail that you can go and shop on property. So there's a lot of different aspects because we are such a large resort. So going back to that grid and making sure that my content calendar feels very balanced, it feels like it flows with the style of the season. I think that's what sort of keeps it all aligned. But making sure we're not highlighting too much of one outlet. We want to make sure there's every piece of our puzzle is being showcased throughout our Instagram grid.
I love this approach. It's not unique to the world. I'm sure I'm familiar with other brands who've had, multiple social channels for different aspects of their business, but you are certainly the first person to come on this show and talk about it from a hotel perspective. And so I think that's fantastic advice for those of us listening who are struggling to find that balance between all the different things that you want to talk about that brand. Maybe it's aspects of the property, maybe it's things you can do in the area, whatever the case might be. Think about adding a couple of extra Instagram accounts, because it doesn't cost you anything as a brand other than maybe some time and
Mhm.
creativity. Instagram's not necessarily charging you for those extra accounts. I love that. My last question for you, Kara, I'm just wondering how you keep up with all this stuff. Social media changes in the luxury industry, and so on. Are there resources or influencers that you turn to keep up with all this?
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's always like boots on the ground with seeing what's going on in the social media industry. And so one of the things that I have done, which is I don't know if many people know how to do this, but you can actually tailor your search bar of your Instagram account to specific keywords and specific content you want to be seeing. So I did that with each of our 4 accounts. So as I go on to each account and go into our search bar, I'm going to see content that is relative to that industry, whether it's trending audios, trending videos, basically any bars that we're inspired by, any incredible creators that are popping up. I find a lot of it through the app, and when I kind of say I flip through many tabs, it allows you to compartmentalize the initiative. So when I go on to Rosewood Miramar Beach, I know I'm going to be seeing content in my search bar that's luxury travel, coastal escapes, beautiful 5-star resorts or hotels. And that helps me stay on top of what's happening with creators and then also what's happening in the industry.
That's fantastic advice. And kind of the underlying advice that I think you're sharing, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that you are very focused on Instagram specifically, not just as
Mhm.
an outlet channel for your own business, but that's where you're spending, it sounds like, a lot of time. And that's what's allowing you to really excel at that platform, if I'm not wrong.
Yes, that's correct.
Great advice for everyone
Yes.
listening. Spend time on the channel, or a limited number of channels that you want to
Mhm.
excel at. That's what's going to allow you to see what's working, what's not working, make those authentic connections with your audience. Kara, you have been amazing. This has been such a fantastic interview. For folks who want to know more about you or this fantastic resort property, where should they go?
So you can head to our Instagram at Rosewood Miramar Beach. And then from there, you'll probably discover our other 3 Instagram accounts as well. It's at Crusoe's, at the Manor Bar, and at Amasushi Miramar, our Japanese sushi restaurant.
We will have all those links in the show notes below, so you can check out those Instagram profiles. And I gotta tell you, the next time I'm in California, I can't wait to check out this resort. But that's all the time we've got for today, friends. Don't forget to find the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition on Apple and drop us a review. I'd love to know what you think, who you'd like us to talk to next. Until next time. Thanks for tuning in to the Social Pulse Podcast Hospitality Edition, hosted by Mike Alton and powered by Agorapulse, the #1 rated social media management solution. Discover more at agorapulse.com. Enjoyed the episode? Please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform and leave us a review. Your feedback drives our content.